Welcome to this session of the Beyond the Veil Summit, where we'll explore the nature of the veil between the worlds. I'm Lisa Bunnies, your host, and my guest for this session is Vincent Genna. Our topic today is how to discern if you're receiving true spirit guidance, know where and who your messages are coming from. For almost 4 decades, Vincent Genna has helped thousands of people around the world to heal, unlock, and release their passions and purpose and transform their lives through his inspiring radio and television interviews, dynamic and loving keynote presentations, workshops and classes, and private sessions. An authentic and gifted psychic medium, Vincent is here with us today. Vincent, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, Lisa, thank you for inviting me. It's fabulous to be here.
We're already having fun.
We're laughing too much. Totally. Well, you can never laugh too much. Now, can you? Especially today.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. We'll go there later. Let's start out by let's talk a little bit about your story. How did you come to this work?
Oh my goodness, I know. I wish I could say I was 5 years old and I walked into my bedroom and there was Archangel Michael sitting at the foot of my bed, but it was usually my mother with a spoon in her hand ready to hit me. And because I did something wrong, I don't know. What actually happened, I was about 28 years old. My dearest friend that I had just made at our 10-year high school reunion, who, by the way, was my original enemy throughout school, who caused most of my bullying and tormenting. So he became a dear friend of mine, and his life was falling apart. Now, I intuitively knew that as that happened throughout most of my life. I just knew things, and I knew something was wrong with his life, but he was the guy who kept everything secretive. He would never share anything like that. But one weekend, my wife and I were over at his house visiting, and he kept talking about his wife, his job, his children, his health, his financial status. We were at a condo in Connecticut, and I just kept feeling something's wrong here, something's wrong. But I didn't know how to help him because at that time, believe it or not, I was a professional actor and had been for about 35 years, right? And so I didn't know anything about psychology, helping. What would I say to this guy, especially since he wasn't opening up to me? But I knew it. So we were driving home. I actually started crying because my heart was breaking for him. And I cried out to God right in the middle of driving. And I said, you've got to help me. You've got to give me the ability, some tools or something to help this guy because I know his heart is breaking. I want to help him and people like him, but I don't know what to do. And it was within a week's time, Lisa, Cecil B. DeMille, Steven Spielberg couldn't have created a bigger epic story and paranormal story that happened to me. It was crazy. All at once, all of these spiritual things. At the time, I didn't know what they were. I'm talking ghosts, I'm talking hearing voices, I'm talking knowing things, I'm talking my head being filled with all of this ancient information. At least at the time I thought it was ancient because it was nothing that I currently knew, and I never studied that work. And thank goodness for my wife. She had been with me since I was 17 years old. So she knew what I knew and what I didn't know. And everything that was spewing out of my mouth, everything that I was telling her that I was experiencing, she knew was something new to me. And that's where it all began. And she believed in me. And then we continued, and it's a long story short, and here I am today.
Wow. So, well, I've got to ask, how did you respond to this obvious mind-blowing experience? How did you take this all in?
I didn't know if I was going crazy. My wife wasn't certain whether she should call Bellevue to lock me up, the rabbi down the block to do some exercise over me, or to have me exorcised by the Catholic Church. She didn't know what to do because she thought that, what was going on here. But again, because she knew me for such a long time, there was something positive and she felt good about what was happening. So we started researching it. We started looking into books. We would sneak into I remember I'm laughing at it because back in those days in the library and the bookstores, the spiritual and the metaphysical section was called the occult section, right? So I don't want any of my neighbors to know that I was in the occult section of the bookstore looking at books. So we'd sneak around looking, and we'd pick up these books, the teachings of the masters of the Far East. And we would peruse the book and come across paragraphs and excerpts of things I spoke and said, which was insane. And so I jumped into doing as much research as possible. I was told in that spiritual chaos that I would always be guided to the right people. And one day in a doctor's office, a person next to me was over listening to a conversation I was having with my wife about what was going on, and she butted in. And she was like, I understand what's happening. I'm sorry if I was over listening, but I know what you have to do. Apparently, she was psychic herself, and she directed me to education material. And Lisa, that's where it all began for me to start normalizing what I was going through and to start tapping into the actual gifts that I was given, that I opened myself up to. And by the way, I did go back and help that friend. So yes, he was the catalyst. And now he's the spiritual teacher, my dearest friend and my greatest fan, and speaks of me highly all the time. So that's how it began. And it took me a long time to truly accept it and get into this work full time, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. Now, I love the way that first you begged for a way to help, and blammo, boy, did you get it. But then you asked for help handling all of this, and you were led to this woman who turned you on to information that you need. So obviously, you're led. This is what you're here to do. How long did it take you to sort of accept that this is a gift you need to actually share?
What time is it and what day is it? It's, I'd say 2 minutes ago. And I'm 66 years old. No, I'm joking, but actually being a little serious in that. It took me many years because first I had to let go of my original mission and passion that I thought I had, which was to become a professional actor. All I cared about, Lisa, is I wanted an Academy Award. I wanted a Tony for Broadway. I wanted an Emmy for television. That's all I cared about. Now I'm being told that I'm going to be a spiritual teacher and a guide and a metaphysician and a mystic healer. And I'm like, are you nuts? And then they use the word psychic. And to me, coming from a little town, Levittown on Long Island, psychics were all those kooky people. They all lived in California too, right? It's just like, I don't want to be one of them. What was I supposed to do? Put a palm outside my office and call me Brother Vincent? Or better yet, my cousin Vinny. You can come to my cousin Vinny for readings. It's like, so it took me such a long time and to accept it. And I started calling myself a transpersonal counselor, an intuitive counselor, anything but the word psychic. Eventually, I realized that was all a gift that I did not have to be afraid of, that I could be proud of, and that I would be representing the word and the title wouldn't be representing me. Mm-hmm. When I began to finally accept it. But it took me many, many years until that happened, Lisa.
So is that why you decided to go back to school? I understand you have a BA in psychology and a master's in clinical social work. Is that why you pursued the degrees?
Okay. So if I'm going to dive in, which I started doing right away, I was doing part-time readings for people. And where I was different is I would be going deep in right to their darkest places of the caverns of their minds and their psyche. And as long as I was going in that deep, I wanted to know if I was going to be doing any damage. I wanted to help the best I could. So I wanted every tool I possibly can get. And people were guiding me again. And there was an internal understanding. I've got to go to school. I got to get my degree so that I can totally understand the human mind if I'm going in there. That's why I can go deeper than most, because I understand how to deal with everything that comes up. I open up Pandora's box, but I know how to reseal it and help people deal with what's inside.
Yeah. So I'm wondering then, before you went to get your degrees, I imagine you had some stumbles. Did you or your clients ever have any, perhaps let's say, bad experiences from attempting to contact spirits?
Actually, Lisa, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I made an arrangement with the universe. I said, listen, if I'm going to be doing this work, I only want you to bring to me the people who are ready and people who are ready for big transformations, because if I'm going in that deep, people make big transformations. So I have to say that I can count on one hand out of the thousands of people I've been working with for almost 4 decades now, one hand the people that it didn't do well with, because not because I was having a difficult time, but because they really were not allowing themselves to be ready. Even though their souls were, and their souls guided them to me, their human minds were not. And that's what gets in the way, which is the reason why this Beyond the Veil topic is so important to me, because that human mind gets in the way even for the people who want to reach out and get that guidance and talk to their guides, especially today, since there's been such a shift in consciousness and understanding. There are so many programs out between the Long Island Medium, Mama Medium, the Celebrity Medium, the Seatbelt Psychic. Each day there's a new one. And we're not talking about the old shows. I mean, James Van Praagh and John Edwards did original medium shows years ago. People had forgotten about that, but now there's even more. So they're reaching out more. There's more mediums out there and more psychics out there and intuitives that are doing this kind of work. But people have to understand that what goes on in their mind deep down is the filtration system to everything that they're doing, including reaching beyond the veil.
Right. Well, today our topic is to discern if you're receiving true spirit guidance, like where the messages are coming from. So let's go ahead and dive in there. What is your advice for people?
Oh, clean the garbage out of the closet. And what I'm talking about is not your home closet, even though there's plenty of garbage. You should come see mine. Oh my God, we just moved into our new house and I got this attic filled with stuff. So I have to take my own advice. But I'm talking about the closets of your mind. That is where you hold on to everything. Every negative experience you ever had is still in there, because we're an accumulation of a lifetime, Lisa. We don't go from 1 year old to 10 years old to 40 years old to 50. We are an accumulation. I'm not 66 years old. I've accumulated 66 years. And as long as you look at it that way, then you have to understand there's stuff in the way. We only have one channel. That channel that we hear that opens up in order to reach beyond, to get that internal guidance, whether it be from your soul, whether it be from spirit, whether it be from the archangels, whether it be from deceased loved ones, they go through only one channel. And that channel is located in your heart region, your heart chakra, because it's the love. It's why we feel so much, right? We talk about heartbreak because we feel pain in our heart. We feel disappointment in our heart. Even when we get anxiety, what does the anxiety that the brain is causing do? It causes the heart to palpitate. That's where your channel is. If there's garbage in there, then you can't trust what you're receiving. Not to mention, I have so many people calling me that want to connect with their guides, with their loved ones, and they can't hear anything. And that's the first piece of advice I give them. Clear the channel. It shuts down with all your doubts, with all your fears, with any negativity you have, with whatever pain you're feeling. That channel closes and restricts the information from coming through. So the more you clear it, the more you put yourself in a positive frame of mind, a positive light, that channel opens up. Now your soul, which you can trust wholeheartedly, comes up with the intuition, comes up with the connection directly to whatever side, whatever you want to talk to. But up until then, you might not even reach totally beyond the veil. You may only get as far as the earthly dimensions. And in the earthly dimensions, there's not necessarily those spirits that have your best interest at heart. Shall we call them ghost lost ones? I know in my realm, mediums, especially over in the UK, don't like referring to ghosts or anything like that. But they're there because they didn't cross those channels. That tunnel of light, that near-death experience people talk about, that's actually the express train. And we hop on it when most people after they're transitioning will hop on that express train and go through the earthly dimensions, the physical dimensions, the whole universe dimensions to get to the, shall we call them, the heavenly dimensions. But trauma and things like that, negative being a criminal, doing really bad stuff can actually keep you from going on that train. And then you get stuck here in the earthly plane. Now, if you're just a lay person, a regular person, and you've been watching these shows and you're on a spiritual journey and you want to connect and you want to talk with some spirit guides or ascended masters, whomever, but you have some of that nonsense going on within you, you could be tricked. You could be told some information that's not necessarily helpful or beneficial because you didn't get out far enough because there was that restriction. People even think that there's demons out there that can attract to them. And you know what? Lisa, we are capable of creating our own demons. That's how powerful we are. We're unlimited beings. And those spirits that we hear people using as excuses as to why their lives are bad, why they can't get anything going, it's because they've created their own demons now. And again, you've got to clear the channel to know you're getting to the right stuff. I mean, don't you have to do that just with yourself when you're just trying to make a decision and you're not even trying to connect? And there's this conflict and this nonsense going back and forth in your mind. You got to settle that down, don't you? Right? Mm-hmm. So that's the best advice to start with, just to start with. There's so much more that we need to pay attention to, like whether you should be reaching beyond.
That's an excellent question. I want to talk about that next. But first, let's talk about, for people who are listening to this going, that's a great idea, but how do I do it? How can they clear out this clutter?
Oh, my goodness. It's so easy. It's so easy that we spend most of our lives stopping that process. The defense mechanisms, we have the mind, the brain has two highest functions. One, to keep us alive. Two, to protect us. Well, we know how it protects us physically. For example, anytime there's a virus or a disease or a bacteria that you may get, the brain raises the body temperature and it gives you a fever. And why does it do that? To make your body an unlivable environment for the bacteria or the virus, right? Well, how does it protect you emotionally when you're going through emotional pain? Or when you have these self-critical beliefs that don't make you feel so good? Well, what your brain will do is create a whole new set of beliefs to shield you and protect you from those deep down ones. I spend most of my career, if you look even on my website, it says that I release and unblock your resistances and help you to get the real part of you out. Well, those blocks are actually your defense mechanisms. The ones that are saying, no, I'm lovable, but yet you can never find a lover, or the ones that you find don't work out. It has to be some other reason why that's stopping. Or I never get a promotion at work. I'm good enough. Well, if you really were good enough, wouldn't you be manifesting better opportunities for yourself in career, in finances, and even in health? It's because most people don't believe what they think they believe. And we have to go to the deeper level. So one, Lisa, you have to be aware you're creating a defense mechanism that may be telling you something that's not true about yourself. For example, you may be thinking you're lovable, but really deep down, that negative part of you from when you were younger has the belief that you're not lovable. That's the part, unfortunately, that's influencing your manifesting. We don't manifest from our conscious mind, Lisa. We manifest from our unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind accounts for 95 to 98% of your entire mind. That's mind-blowing right there. That means only 2 to 5% of your mind is in your conscious control and awareness. So most people don't know what the heck is going on in the majority of their minds. And when they think they know themselves, no, you don't. That's why the psychic and that's why I call myself the psychic therapist and why I went back to school. I can see what's really in your mind. So when you're trying to convince me, oh, I'm a great lover, I'm totally lovable, I'm a stud, I'm a princess. It's all those jerks out there that I keep meeting. That's the reason why I'm not getting along. And I'm going, why are you attracting that kind then? The proof is in the results of your life. If you can't get that relationship, chances are you don't believe you're lovable. If you don't have those opportunities in your career to advance and thrive, chances are you don't believe you're good enough. If you have bad finances, chances are you don't believe you deserve them. And if you have bad health, chances are you don't believe that you're worthy enough and you may be punishing yourself. But that's the deep down stuff, and you can't be afraid to go there. So acknowledge you have defenses, then allow the truth to come up. It may hurt temporarily, because that's the reason why obviously people block it. That's why a lot of people don't go to therapy. 3/4 of the world would absolutely benefit from some form of counseling and therapy, because life has been so stressful and we harbor all of those inner beliefs, right? Well, the therapist helps to take them out and bring them to the surface. But most people don't want to go because they think it's going to be so painful, which is the reason why your mind suppressed them to start with. You've got to be willing to go in there. Now, what I'm talking about isn't just to open up the channel to the veil. It's to open yourself up to the greatest, most magnificent divine part of who you are, your divinity, your power, your talents, your purpose, everything. But yes, you'll have a better connection. It's like getting a brand new iPhone with real clarity and a faster processor, which we do all the time, right? We're always on the phone. We want clarity. We want clarity. You can do that with yourself.
Yeah.
That was
All
the
right.
abridged version, by the way, Lisa.
Well, that was beautifully stated. Thank you so much. I want to rewind to what you said before we went in that direction. You said maybe we shouldn't try to connect with the other side. Go ahead and talk about that if you would.
Yes. Believe it or not, I have had clients contact me and asking me to give them a reading about their lovers, a particular lover. And I really don't go into somebody else's life if they're not there and on the phone and don't give me permission, but I just get generalized stuff. And for this particular person, I was not getting any information at all that she even had a lover. Oh, and she insisted, no, I have a lover, absolutely. And she was describing this guy, his looks, his appearance, everything, and how wonderful he treats her, and that, and he's so sensual and everything like that. And all of a sudden, I'm getting all these red flags, and my own guides are saying, ask her if her lover is alive. Her lover was a spirit, and not a boyfriend or a husband who had died, but she believed that she had a spirit coming to her, and she was having intimate, loving relationships with the spirit, supposedly. And I knew then that this was not true, and that she created and manifested that idea herself to such a point that she may have been feeling some physical things, may have been touched, may have been feeling this caressing, but she was absolutely creating that herself with an actual energy. You know, a lot of times we give credits to these angels appearing on the earth, helping people or helping us 1, 2, 3, and then disappearing, right? Well, we create our own angels. It's not always something, a spirit from the other realm coming in, coming down here instantaneously, helping you out and then leaving again. We are that capable and powerful of creating our own angels that are us, helping ourselves, but just outside our bodies in another energy form. But if we can do that positively, we can do that negatively too. So she was having more enjoyment trying to connect with the spirit realm and not doing anything to help herself in the human realm. And a lot of people want to do that. They want to connect with the other side because they can't deal with this side. Or they want to connect with mom and dad because maybe mom and dad did not treat them very well. And they want to know, did you really love me? And was I a good son? Was I a good daughter? Those are not the best reasons to try to get the information, because you need to do something in this life to try. You're here for a reason. So you have to resolve and heal what goes on here. The other side is fabulous and wonderful. And of course, we're there and we can make the connections. But we're not supposed to be dependent upon that, because if that's what the case was, we wouldn't need to be in this incarnation, a physical incarnation. We could just stay on the other side. Mm-hmm. So we have to learn how to deal with what we create here and heal and develop and evolve here in the physical realm. So it's not always beneficial to connect to the other side. Mm-hmm. You may not get the answers that you really, really need. That's the whole thing.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm so glad we've gone in this direction, especially since, as we've mentioned, you've gotten degrees so that you understand the human psyche more than just receiving messages. So, and we've sort of touched on how weird the world has gotten here. I know that a lot of people have sort of gone down these rabbit holes of, I don't want to say insanity because that's a bit of a strong word, but people like putting together patterns of what they believe are intuitive messages, leading them into not really living in, you know, the shared physical reality as the rest of us. I'm trying to say this as gently and kindly as possible. I believe you know what I'm saying. So if you could talk about that a bit, that would be fun.
Oh, so then as a professional, let me use the professional term that we use amongst our field. You're talking about the nuts.
I didn't say it.
You didn't. Okay, no. We're all crazy to a certain extent anyway. So I'll admit that that's okay. There is absolutely nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, we don't want to be normal anymore, okay? Because the norm is what created the current situation. So we want to be like what Albert Einstein said. You can't solve a problem with the same paradigm and set of beliefs that created it. You need a whole new, different set of beliefs. So we need a new set of norms. People, Lisa, are trying to escape this world. And I'm not talking about leaving through suicide or anything like that, even though that is real too. So they do it psychologically. So they find either excuses. We all need things to blame. And we've gotten into the habit of blaming because that is one of the defense mechanisms. If we project our problem onto somebody else and somebody else is causing it, we don't have to face what we're feeling about ourselves and our own responsibility in having created the situation. Right? So we blame. So now that the spirit world and the metaphysical world and the paranormal world have become so popular, we've got a new set of blaming that we can do. We can blame the ghosts. We can blame these attachments. We can blame demons. We can blame aliens. We can blame all of these beings that are having conspiracies against us in order to keep us from living right. Then we start looking into, oh, it must be a sign. Oh my gosh. I just walked in a tree and a leaf fell down from the tree right in front of me. That must be a sign. It has to do with fall. I meant to move to Maine. I got to pack up all my stuff and move to Maine. It's just like we are so willing to run away, escape, come up with excuses that we're looking for everything. And now we have another place to look. Didn't we look in the beginning? We were superstitious beings when we were here. So we looked to the gods, and everything was a god. The sun god, the rain god, the lightning god, Mother Nature, all of that. So we became very superstitious, and we were looking towards that. Then as we became educated and more evolved, we started looking towards bigger and more organized religion, dogmatic religions, whether it be Christianity, Judaism, Muslim, Hindu, it didn't make a difference. We looked to religion. Well, then that didn't answer our question. So then we looked to science. Science didn't answer our question. So we kept moving forward. Then the New Age movement came along and we started looking into that. Well, the New Age movement brought a lot of different things with it, be it crystals and be it chakras and be it out-of-body experiences and astral projections and all of this stuff, and talking to beyond the veil, all of these different new things. Well, it's not science, it's not religion, it's something new. So now I'm going to latch on to that as to give me my answers. There's nothing wrong with going through all that information, and there's a plethora of that out there, right? Between all the books that are written, all the lectures, all of these wonderful educational pieces, that's what you're supposed to do. But a lot of people don't have the filtration system, the proper filtration system, that connection to the soul that is telling them what to listen to and what not to listen to, what is real and what is not real, because again, that channel is closed. So now they get and hear all of these positive things along with the crazy things that we hear. Hey, you can listen to some radio shows and some podcasts and get some unbelievable information that people are giving out there. And maybe one day you'll build a pyramid that you can wear on your head too, to keep out all the negative energy that's coming at you. There's philosophies and everything. But what do you have to help you guide you through what is real and what is not real? We're all built with that, Lisa. And it's called our intuition, and it's called our souls. But you've got to clear what's in the head to get to what's all the way deep down inside of us. Mm-hmm. And let us know, steer away from this information. No, that's not really a sign. One of the other biggest ways that I can tell people, if you want a sign, ask for a big, undeniable sign. I can tell you a story that I was asking God for a sign about a move that was absolutely phenomenal. There was no doubt, and you didn't even have to filter anything out. So it'll give it. The universe will give you the signs you want and need if you ask for them. If you're doing it with pure intent, you'll get an answer like we did. Woo! If we have time, I'd love to tell you that story.
We've got some time. Go ahead. I'd love to hear it.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So my wife and I, after my mother-in-law had passed, we were living in New Jersey, and both of us had got a calling to move. We knew we were supposed to move. And I was getting a feeling that we were supposed to go south, but we didn't know exactly where. And originally we were looking in Virginia. I was going to school at the time, going to get my degree because I went back as an adult, and I was attending Rutgers University in New Jersey. And the other place that we were thinking, because we had friends there, was Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia. And we were like, okay, let's go look. We looked there, but there was a little, restrictions, and it was smaller and wasn't exactly what we wanted. And then somebody said, why don't you check out Raleigh? So we looked at Raleigh in the weekend, fell in love with it, but we weren't going to do anything unless we got a sign. And so both my wife and I said, okay, Spirit, universe, give us a sign. give us a big sign to let us know, because we were going to be leaving our families. We were going to be selling our home. My wife didn't have any prospects of a job in North Carolina at all. I didn't even know if I was going to be accepted in a transfer of a program to any of the universities here. So we needed a sign. So she worked in Manhattan at the time, and she would come out of the subway right at 42nd Street in front of the Times Square building. That's the building that drops the crystal ball at New Year's that you see on New Year's Eve, right? And they have a big giant scrolling sign there, beautiful building. So one day she was going to work, and I said, remember, honey, ask for a sign. She said, I'm asking for a sign. So she's coming out of the subway, and she goes, Universe, you really got to give us a sign whether we should be moving to North Carolina, okay? She steps out, and for the first time, all of a sudden on the scrolling marquee is Raleigh, the #1 city to live in the USA, voted by Money Magazine. It was the first time it had been put up there. She caught it at the time she came out, because it scrolls all other information. But right when she came out, there's the sign. She gets to her office, and at that time we didn't have any cell phones, so she had to wait until she got to her office. She calls me. She said, we got our sign, and it was scrolling. And we were like, are you kidding? On the Times Square building? It couldn't be any bigger than that, except if it was on a blimp, flying in the sky. And so we put that sign up for sale. It was the best thing we did. It was the greatest move, the easiest move. It was wonderful, Lisa. So you can get your big sign. That's my big sign story.
That is a big sign story. Wow. So it sounds like you and your wife have really learned how to ask the right question to receive the right answer from the right sources. So what's the formula for that?
Oh, my goodness. If I had the formula, Lisa, I'd be a millionaire right now. Unfortunately, there isn't a formula, but there is a better way of asking. First of all, you want to know what it is you really want to know. And then you say, well, what do I really, really want to know? And then you go, now, what do I really, really, really want to know? But you don't leave it there, because then you finally say, what do I really, 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 really want to know? What do I need? So in other words, what I'm trying to say, Lisa, it has to be a real question, not one that you think you're supposed to ask, not one that's mundane. We're deeper than that. Should you ask the universe, should I get the red car or the blue car? You can. You're wasting your time, because that's a simple question. You just either flip a coin, or just, what color do you like better? For goodness sakes. But you've got to ask. We don't ask the right questions. We ask, what job should I have? Rather than, I'm creative. I love flexibility. I want to be able to stay home with my children, but I want to make a difference. I want to have an impact at work. What would be the best job that I could have? That's something deeper. That's something that you really, 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 really want to know, right? And so put aside what you think you want to ask, and allow yourself to go to the deepest level of your heart. What does your heart really want to ask? And what you're doing by that. Now, it seems like, okay, Vince, you're really being technical here. And just to ask a question of the universe, it should be able to answer anything. Yeah, you get confounded answers, which is why it's so confusing. And I have so many clients saying, well, I asked where I should move, and I got this answer, and we moved there. At least I thought I got the answer. I moved there. I hated it. I said, wait, how did you get the answer? Well, somebody was just telling me that they were from there, and I figured that was the answer. And I said, wait, how did you ask this question? And you just say, well, should we move to California? Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah. Or they'll ask, where should we move to? I'm like, you know how many places in the world there are to be able to move? And you expect the universe to come up and pinpoint one specific spot for you? It's going to turn around and say, where do you want to move? So you have to know what you really want. Did you want to go to California for a specific reason? Or did somebody just tell you, well, it's a nicer place to live? No, I'm thinking about redoing my career. And I saw so many wonderful opportunities in California. And I was just thinking about maybe the Los Angeles area because it would be easier. All right, now you're clearing and you're getting rid of the clutter and you're narrowing it down. You're being more concise. The more concise you are with your question, you are taking your energy and you're honing it like a laser beam versus a floodlight. When you turn around and just say, should I move to California? You're sending out a floodlight, and the universe could just say, yes, sure, of course you can. All you have to do is get in your car and just drive there and find a place to live, and yes, you can move there. Is this a trick question? But now when you focus, you're honing your beam of light and you're sending it beyond this universe, because our beams of light go out. It goes beyond the veil to the highest level of dimension there possibly can be. That's where our souls really reside. That's where our higher soul and spirit reside. Now you're going directly to source when you ask a question that way, with your heart, with pure intention, with greatest desire, and not just because you want to run away or you think there's something better. It's because something you really, 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 really want.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you ask a question.
Right.
Right?
Wonderful. Thank you for that clarity, for clearing the clutter and delivering clarity. Thank you.
I hope so. I hope so.
We're running low on time, but I want to ask, this is my favorite question to ask my guests in this summit is, we're talking about beyond the veil. In your experience, in your words, what is the veil between the worlds?
Oh, that's such an incredible question. Do you know why we even use the word veil?
I do not.
Because it's the thinnest, most sheerest piece of cloth we can think of. A matter of fact, back in the old days, the old time stars, Loretta Lynn, even beyond her, I'm talking about like actresses, Lucille Ball and Greta Garbo, as they got older and they started developing wrinkles, the studios did not necessarily want that age to come across. So they used to put a veil on the camera lens. And it was so sheer that you can go through it, but it was a blurry enough that you wouldn't see the fine details. Let me tell you, those actresses would never last with HD film and digital audio today. Oh my gosh, you see every single line. They would hate that. That's why so many of them wind up having facial operations, right? Because they know they're going to be seen, right? Well, that's how thin it's actually. We could even get rid of the word veil, because there is no distance between here and there. It's another dimension. And do me a favor, Lisa, will you? Could you just have some fun with me? And
Sure.
just put your arm out, like we're going to do the hokey pokey. Put your arm out.
Okay.
All right, you just went through about 3 or 4 dimensions.
Okay.
Because this is where the dimensions are. They're not in a different place. They're always around us, with us. And actually, this universe is in one of those dimensions. So the dimensions aren't a place we have to take our cars to, and we certainly can't fly there. All we have to do is thin the distance between your soul's mind and your conscious mind by clearing the clutter, and you're already on the other side of the veil as well. That's how close it is.
Nicely stated. Thank you for that. I like that. Now, before we go any further in our conversation, as I mentioned, we're getting a little low on time. I'm looking at my clock over here. I want to make sure that I mention your website in case people want to get in touch with you. That's vincentgenna.com. If people visit you there, what are they going to find?
Oh, they are going to find so much information. I have so much resources there on my media page. I have a ton of all different interviews, audio and television ones that are fun, informative. I have a resource page with all different reading material, movies that I recommend people to go watch, to listen to, blogs, things like that, and ways to connect to me to all my social media. So there's a lot of information on the site, and primarily a way to connect with me and book appointments or get as much information as you need. That's what that website is for.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Vincent. This has been so fun and so educational. I just want to make sure before we go, is there anything that you think we've left out that you want to make sure we talk about, or do you feel complete?
Well, I will say this that everybody should take with them. Number one, you can't believe in anything else until you believe in yourself. So whether it be the veil, whether it be spirit, whether it be anything, whether it be even in your children, you can't believe in them until you believe in yourself first. And number two, carry the mantra, I love myself so much. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to experience my greatest existence here because I deserve it. Everything that's positive, all the learning, all the clearing, go within and don't be afraid, because that inner child wants you, deserves you, is looking for you to embrace it, all its dark secrets that he or she may have. You can deal with, release, and become the magnificent person you're meant to be and achieve all your dreams.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for being with us today, Vincent. This was so much fun. Thank you.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me, Lisa. God bless and take care.
Absolutely. You too. I want to remind everyone I've been talking with Vincent Genna, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation in the Beyond the Veil Summit.